Hello and welcome to the January 18th episode of This Week in Kirkland, the official podcast of the City of Kirkland, bringing you timely topics and noteworthy news delivered to you every week. I'm your host, Jim Lopez, one of two deputy city managers here at the city, joined by two members of the podcast team.
Kate Ryan.
And David Wolbrecht.
As well as our special guest, Ryan Sheaffer from our wonderful Kirkland Fire Department. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Jim. Happy to be here.
Well, we're all very excited to hear about Community Risk Reduction Week. But before we do, here are some topics we're covering this week.
Yeah, we've got some announcements, including how to get notified about nearby development activity, how to care for our waterways and sweep the salt after the winter weather, and a recap of the City Council meeting.
We've also got some tips for you on knowing your water servicer.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. How to protect yourself from fraud and how to stay up to date on all the WSDOT I-405 activity for their projects.
Because there are a few of them.
There's a few, and they're big.
They're big.
Yep.
But first, our big story of the week, put a freeze on winter fires with these helpful reminders. What is the leading cause of home fires, you may ask?
Space heaters and fireplaces.
That's the correct answer.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look at that. I don't even work for the fire department. But,
You're natural, David.
hey, thanks, right.
So keep your chimneys clean of creosote buildup in fireplaces. Should have a sturdy screen to stop sparks.
Good tip. Yep. And keep combustibles away from heat sources.
And if you smell gas in your gas heater, don't light it. Instead, leave.
Don't light it.
Call 911, and Ryan or others from the fire department will show up and call your gas company.
Boom.
Great. Also, check your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms and place them throughout your house.
Yes. Now, I bet our special guest, Ryan, has a lot more to say on this topic as ways to reduce risk in our community. But just hang tight, Ryan. We're going to get to that in a minute.
I'm hanging, Jim.
Now, on the topic of being prepared, know your water servicer before you have a problem like freezing pipes.
So we have 3 water servicers in our city. The City of Kirkland, North Shore Utility District, and Woodinville Water District.
Do you know which one you have?
I have a suspicion, because I live near City Hall, that I'm in the city district.
Okay.
I think that's right.
I'm looking at David. Do I have that right?
I know. I know we're in the North Shore.
You're in the North
yeah.
Shore.
Kate?
All right.
Nice. I believe I'm on the city.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe
All right.
so,
Okay.
but it's worth checking, and you can do that on our website, find out who your servicer is, and have their contact information on hand for when you need it.
And reminder: the water line on your property up to the meter is the responsibility of the property
There you-
owner.
there
That's
you
good
go.
to know.
So the Kirkland City Council met this past Tuesday, January 16th, and here's some of what happened. First, on the business agenda, Council received committee appointments for various regional committees for 2024 that cover a variety of policy areas from water quality to transportation.
Council also received an update on the city's 2024 state legislative agenda.
And prior to the business agenda, council held a study session where they discussed potential short-term options to make use of the Houghton Park and Ride site while long-term plans are being developed.
And that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
There's some
a lot-
really cool options
Yeah.
that they're
Oh.
considering.
So
Nice.
tune into that, and it's really going to be a very interesting initiative.
And council meetings are streamed live and available after the fact on the city's YouTube channel, Facebook page, and on the city website.
So this time of year is prime time for fraudsters.
Boo.
Follow these tips to not get burned by scammers.
That's right. Do not give your social security
No.
number.
No.
No, don't do it. Or account numbers to strangers over the phone, online, or by mail.
And folks are getting, and by folks I mean scammers, are getting pretty like high tech and pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some really intense scams out there, so just never do it.
Yeah.
Don't use obvious passwords.
Can I just tell you, it's funny that we have that in the show because last night I was trying to park my car downtown and it was raining and I had to put in a new password for a new app, to pay for parking. And I was like fat fingering it. I couldn't get the password. So I'm like, that's it. I'm just going to do an obvious password.
Oh no, yeah,
Not a
Jim.
good idea.
That's how they get you.
Yeah,
they get you.
one password 1 2 3.
No, you don't want to do it.
That's my bank
All
account.
right, I just
so-
thought it was funny that just happened to
You
me.
might want to change that.
Yeah,
David.
Don't do it.
yeah, note especially now.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, and also check your credit reports frequently for anything weird.
And you want more tips?
Sure.
Well, attend a free fraud prevention workshop from Consumer Protection Washington, hosted by our very own Kirkland Senior Council. That's going to be Thursday, January 25th.
Awesome.
So do you want to be notified about development activity in your neighborhood? Then you should sign up through the Kirkland Activity Map. And this is a really cool thing.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I don't think a lot of our community members know about it. So this is an online tool. Members of the community can learn about building permits, land use actions, code enforcement in their area, also throughout the whole city. It's all right there.
Oh,
It's like a map you can scroll around on, click on things. Really helpful.
So easy to use, really good information. People want to know if there's building across the street, down the street,
short plats, what have you.
all that good stuff.
It's pretty darn robust. Users can set up customized email alerts, focus on a selected area, and share a filtered view of the map.
Yeah, there you go. You can just hardwire it
Exactly,
to, send
to
you the
email you
email you the stuff.
when there's stuff. Yeah. So check it out. All the info, as always, in the show notes.
Yes, great stuff. Okay, so if you spread salt or de-icers to help stay safe during this recent cold snap, be a good steward and sweep the salt.
Yeah, so salts and chemicals in de-icers can be harmful to our creeks, lakes, and wetlands.
Yeah, so after the snow and ice melts, go ahead and sweep up the excess product, throw it in the trash so it doesn't land up in the lake.
Boom. Another timely story. I left City Hall the other day, and I'm going downtown because City Hall, those of you that don't know, we sit up on a hill, literally and figuratively.
Right.
And I was walking downtown to meet someone, and I'm going down the hill, and I'm like, that's it, I'm going down. Because it was freezing, and you just knew there was a layer of ice on the road, so I'm like, I'm going down. So walking up the hill is a Kirkland employee, Parks or Public Works, I think, spreading salt.
Hey, there we go.
I was like, man, thank you.
Well, and this morning I saw our very own Public Works street sweepers out on my way in, and they're sweeping up the salt.
Sweeten up the
There
salt.
you go.
So,
Of course, at the moment, I'm like, I'm still going down, but not because I don't have salt. And I did make it, happy in it.
and you're here to
Good,
talk about it,
good.
Jim, and that's what matters.
So a reminder, big traffic closures coming up at I-405 and 85th Street at the interchange.
That's right. So the WSDOT project that's happening up there will be closing both directions of 85th Street.
Yeah.
So you just can't drive there, as well as the freeway ramps. And they'll be closed from the weekend of January 26th, from Friday night through Monday morning.
Yes.
Yeah, so what are crews doing, you ask? Well, they'll be demolishing the ramps and installing temporary intersections with signals right there.
Okay.
Yeah, so following the closure, the way you travel around the area will be different, so just be prepared for the other side of this big closure.
And please note that this work is weather dependent, so the closure may be rescheduled or completed over 2 weekends.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Got it, yeah.
So that brings us to 5 in 5. You know the drill, 5 questions, 5 minutes. Approximately. 5-ish.
Yeah,
Have I ever hit 5 minutes?
No.
I'm not
Hard
sure
no.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm not betting that I'm going to hit 5 minutes.
Well, not at
today
this
either.
pace,
Not
Jim.
at this pace.
Right.
Because we have our special guest, Ryan Sheaffer. Welcome, Ryan.
I'm happy to be here. I'm ready for 5 and 5. I mean, even if it takes longer than 5, it can be 7 and 7, whatever you need.
Thank you, man. The pressure, I needed to hear that. The pressure is down a little bit. So, Ryan, what is your role with the city?
Yeah, Jim, so I'm now working in our prevention bureau as a fire inspector and investigator. I was a firefighter in operations for 11 years.
Wow.
I was on our ladder truck. Had a great time with that, part of our tech rescue team.
Oh, geez.
And then in May of last year, I made the move into the prevention department. And
Wow.
it's been great. Stretching a different muscle and learning new aspects and being on the prevention side of things. It's actually really made me aware of probably some of the things I wasn't aware of when on the line as a firefighter.
Sure.
And so,
Interesting.
What do you actually do in the Fire Prevention Bureau?
Yeah, so a number of things. My specific area of specialty of expertise is on the maintenance side of inspections.
Oh, interesting.
So going into businesses, doing their annual life and fire safety inspections, making sure that they're up to code, that they have the proper operational permits.
Oh, wow.
We also have a development services side with the Prevention Bureau that handles more of the new construction.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sprinkler systems, things of that nature.
Wow,
So everything that we are doing is obviously geared, as the name says, Prevention Bureau. Yeah, we're trying to prevent and mitigate
This is
fires from happening.
This is so
great.
great. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Like most things, the more prepared you are at it, the better you're going to be. And it's a huge benefit to all of your peers in the fire department that you're doing the work upstream so that they don't get hit with the work downstream.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so Ryan, we're going to get into our topic this week.
Okay.
But before we do, a couple of quick questions.
Yes.
So how did you come to Kirkland in the beginning? Like, how'd you come to Kirkland?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was I was not one of those people that grew up always thinking of and dreaming of being a firefighter. It was probably in the back of my mind a lot. My father was a volunteer firefighter.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, but I had you look back and kind of connect the dots, but they're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's not a linear line, if you will.
Like
I
most
hear
things
you,
in
Ryan.
life.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I can resonate.
But after college, I was living down in Los Angeles for a while, and then I moved up here to the Seattle area, and I actually was working in finance. I was doing corporate training and traveling around the country, delivering financial management seminars, but I always had this itch to be a firefighter. It was just this one constant that I kept coming back to. And I got a little bit of a late start. I was 35 when I got hired.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I was dating, probably engaged to my now wife, and I remember telling her, as I sat her down one time, I was like, I really want to be a firefighter. I'm going to go for it. And she fully supported it. And so, as it is, it's a competitive job to get on with. And so I started testing and applying to different departments, and was fortunate enough to get on with Kirkland, and that was in 2012.
Wow.
And like I said, I just feel really grateful that this is the city that I work for and the department that I ended up in.
So that's a wonderful,
that's a cool story.
wonderful story. So that's a nice life lesson too. Follow your passion.
Yeah,
Follow your heart.
For sure.
Follow your heart.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you have a favorite thing about the city of Kirkland?
Many things.
Yeah, doesn't have to be the. Could be just an A.
No, many things. I mean, look, from a work culture standpoint, I love it. Like I said, I when I say that I'm thankful I ended up in Kirkland, I really mean that. It seems to fit my personality in terms of the department culture. So from a work standpoint, and that's from the top down, from our chief and the officers. So it's a really great culture and environment to work in. It's a great city. And then, I mean, what's not to like about Kirkland? I'm a huge water guy.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, like I said, after college, I was living in LA near the beach, and I live in West Seattle near Alki Beach, and then I get a chance to work here. And the amount of, on Lake Washington and parks that we have on the lake, and it's such a great walkable downtown. So it's just a wonderful place to be at, to call home for work.
Yeah, the water is truly part of the magic of our city.
Yep.
Okay, so you're here to promote Community Risk Reduction Week. Tell us about that.
That's correct. So, with CRR, we're really trying to raise awareness about reducing fires and other hazards to build a safe and resilient community.
Sure.
And there's really 5 E's, and I don't know how much of this has been covered.
Let's power through it.
With community risk reduction, and those are education, engineering, enforcement, economic incentive, and emergency response.
Sure.
And, I think when it comes to community risk reduction, I think that word community really stands out because we are all in this together. And if everybody does their part, from citizens to business owners to obviously emergency personnel, then everything's going to work better. And as I said at the very beginning, in terms of the role and what prevention is trying to do, we obviously can't eliminate all major calls, but we want to at least mitigate those as much as possible. It's funny, when I started this job, it's so fun. You go to a big call and lights and sirens, and you're driving the fire engine. And as time's gone, I realized that the more mundane the shift is, the day is, really the better for everybody. That means,
amen.
You know what I mean? That means citizens are safe. That means property is safe. That means our firefighters aren't exactly overburdened. And so it is this weird shift in paradigm where even though you want that exciting, adrenaline-laden call, really, my job, especially now in prevention, is try to make things pretty mundane for our firefighters.
Well, it's wonderful too, because community, the fact that this is community awareness emphasizes the fact that you can't do it alone.
That's right.
You need the community. It has to be a collective.
100%.
And it truly is one of the things that makes our city so wonderful, is our investment as a community to care for each other. Okay, so our last question is, we usually ask, are you watching a cool show or movie, or what's a fun hobby? But I'm going to take podcast privilege because Ryan was the show.
Right.
That's what we hear.
That's what we hear.
Yes.
Ryan was actually the show. Now, Ryan, for those of you who don't know, was a contestant on The Bachelor.
I mean, to be fair, it was the Bachelorette, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Right.
Had I been the Bachelor, that would have been a whole different. I may not be married to my wife right now, but yes.
That's right. So I'm sorry. So you were a contestant on The Bachelorette. Tell us
correct.
what that was like.
Oh, man alive.
Was this when you were down in L.A.?
This is when I lived in L.A. I mean,
Okay.
we're talking 19, let's see. I
Ooh,
moved
in the
up here in
19s.
2005,
Oh, okay.
19 years ago.
Wow.
That this was 18, 19 years ago. And yeah, so I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and the opportunity came about to be a contestant on the show.
Oh, what fun.
And, I figured, why not?
Why not?
Kind of
Yeah.
a carpe diem
Yeah.
attitude.
Sure.
And just have this unique life experience. And so I went for it, was chosen to be one of the 25 contestants.
25?
Wow.
25
Okay.
of
So
us,
do,
yep.
does all 25 start the show?
All 25 start the show, and then it's interesting. It gets whittled from 25 to 15 the very first night.
Ooh, golly.
And then it kind of
Holy
settles
cow.
in, and 15 move into a house. The one I filmed was in New York City, and so we were
Oh,
put up in
interesting.
a brownstone in New York.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
So this is going to be a 5 and 5 issue. 'Cause I think
Five and five-ish.
Yes.
So honestly, that first night you got 25 going to 15.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing with each other? Like, are you like looking at each other going,
Yeah, you kind of size one another up. I mean, that's
right.
what's really interesting about the show is it's a great study. It's a great like social experiment, if you will, because they strip
right.
everything away from you. You can't have a phone, no access to computer.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
You can't watch TV. They don't want any current events being
Oh,
interjected into conversation.
wow.
And so you're really living in this fishbowl.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
What an
it's-
experience.
It's pretty crazy. It was a really cool, unique.
Okay,
experience.
so you made the first cut.
made the first cut.
Okay, so you're down to 15.
Yep.
All right, so then what happened? Like, I'm not too attuned to the show, so just at a very high level, how are you guys competing? And as a second question, like, are you nervous that the person will pick you and it might not work out?
It does start getting a little weird as you get further
Right,
in.
right.
You're like, oh man, this could
This
really
is
happen.
real.
And what am I going to do?
Oh,
and am I going to propose on national TV? As time starts going. So yeah, it just gets whittled down. I think they eliminate a couple people each week, and by each week, maybe in real time, that's 2 or 3 days. And there's little competitions of who wins gets an individual date or it's a group date.
Yeah,
and then
okay,
you're
interesting.
and so it just continues getting whittled down. And yes, as time goes, it does get a little more
Well,
nerve wracking.
time went for you, is that right?
Time went.
How did it end up?
It went well. I was the third.
Whoa!
And let me tell you, I've always thought that was the best spot because the final two guys both got down on a knee and proposed, and she turned them both down.
No.
And so I've always been thankful that I never on national TV got down on a knee and had a marriage
But
proposal.
does that mean that
With the
does that mean
decline.
they called you out of the bullpen and like you were the next one up? Is that how it happened?
No, man, I was already
You were already out?
already off.
Okay.
I was already
Oh,
out
wow.
there.
I mean, the
Out of
bronze,
there.
though. That's all right.
It's not bad,
I
right?
mean,
Are you
hey,
kidding me?
Yeah.
It's better than a
Medal.
participation award.
Yeah, right. A ribbon. Yeah. I mean, come on.
No, it was a really fun experience.
Ryan, thank you so much. Will you come back?
I would love to
Yeah.
come back. I would absolutely love to. And I will say this, because, you were saying what normally it is. Circling back to not the Bachelorette, but the question, I will say, because I was thinking about this when I was, looking at our script, a book. I will answer that
Yes,
question
please,
too,
please.
because I'm reading a book right now that for those that are into kind of self-help,
Yes, love
kind of
that.
a little bit
Love
of
those
woo
books.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now called Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's written by a guy named Joshua Medcalf, and it's very much about falling in love with the process
Oh,
of
I love that.
greatness, right? And routines and habits and rituals,
Right.
and so many times we want that shiny object out there, but we're
Yeah.
not willing to put the work in to do it. And so it's really about just falling in love with the process and letting go of the end result. So it's written almost like a fable. It's a quick, easy read. So
I love it.
I'd be happy to talk Bachelorette with anybody.
Yeah.
But for those that are looking for a thought-provoking, easy read book, Chop Wood, Carry Water.
I love that. I
That's
think
a good recommendation.
Yeah,
right there.
a
absolutely.
wonderful recommendation. I think there's a lot of literature on about things like don't set goals, set systems. Like
Yeah.
set the
That's right.
or definitely set goals, but
Right.
fall in love with the system, the way you get there, kind of thing.
That's right.
I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Sounds like a great read.
Thank you all. Thanks
so
for having me. This
So
has been
please,
great.
please stay right there because
Okay,
we have a
I'm
quiz.
staying.
We have a quiz.
Okay. Oh,
yeah. Please stick around.
Well, I didn't know that was part of it. No one told me about a quiz.
Well, it's not a quiz for you necessarily.
Maybe I'll bring my fire marshal over here for
Yeah,
that part.
so it's about that. Right? Okay, so here's our pop quiz. One of these answers passes the test, while the others don't have a rating. In other words, the other two
Fire
we
prevention.
just
Yeah,
fire
subtle.
prevention.
Yeah,
So,
plan words there.
subtle plan.
Yeah.
The other two options we just basically make up. Okay, so first, A home inspector in Baltimore once discovered evidence of a fire caused by an exploding, neglected smoke detector.
Oh.
It's a scary thought.
B, consumers should replace old extension cords because modern UL-approved extension cords won't short or overheat.
That sounds...
Okay. They do
Too
always
good to
want
be-
us to buy new.
Yeah, that's true. That's
fair.
B. Or C, diners must get a waiver from the Kirkland Fire Department to request more than 5 stars of spice level at any Kirkland restaurant. Signed waiver.
I'm not... That sounds like a lot of process
Fine.
for...
Yes.
It's a hurdle, I think.
You're not going to do that for your...
Oh, no,
your
my
heat
face
rating?
melts after one.
I'm not a spicy person
Two's
myself.
a little too much for you.
Yeah, exactly.
The answer is A.
Oh, wow.
An improperly installed air conditioning unit that had been left running for weeks in the empty house dripped rusty condensation into the smoke detector,
Wow.
causing the battery to leak, arc, and burn the material around it.
And this is in Baltimore?
Baltimore.
Wow. Have you heard of stuff like that?
No.
Yeah,
that sounds really complicated.
That sounds very complicated.
Very complicated. Trust me, our writers, they will find it. They will find it. Our writers will find it.
You've
Well,
got a
it's-
good research team. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's here because of the sick irony, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes, the air conditioner.
The air conditioner.
Oof, yeah.
Boom. Okay, any extension cord can short and or overheat
That's what I was thinking.
if faulty or overloaded.
Okay.
So don't
Oh,
put
okay.
extension cords under rugs, pinch them indoors, use damaged or discolored cords, plug too many devices into one cord.
I need to think about that.
Think about that one.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a big one.
That's a
You're
big
talking about some of the stuff I'm doing. I see
Yeah.
that all the time.
Oh, is that
on my
right?
inspections. So,
Okay.
yeah. Use
Note
that
to
as
future
permanent.
self.
Yeah, do not use as permanent wiring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Noted.
Or use a cord that's not rated for the device plugged into
okay.
it. Probably do that too. So don't do those things.
Okay.
So thank you, Ryan, for being on the podcast. This was so much
This
fun.
was a blast. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me. I'd love to come back.
I would
another
love
time.
to have you.
Awesome. Well, hey, don't forget to sweep the salt.
And that does it for this week. You've been listening to This Week in Kirkland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Share.
Special thanks to Ryan Sheaffer. Thank you, Ryan. Anthony Girardi, Chris Peterson, and Sue Romero for their behind-the-scenes magic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next episode is January 25th. Until then,
Stay connected, Kirkland.